Hey guys, what's up? It's Jack and welcome back to another video. And now that the recent patch has gone live over the last 12 hours or so, I figured it was time to talk about the movement changes with XDefiant. So basically the bunny hopping and the air strafing got a bit of a nerf today. And ever since before the nerf, and since they were talking about what they were going to do and stuff like that with the patch notes before this change took place, a lot of players online took to social media to basically express their concerns, to put it nicely, to the devs, which actually wasn't nice. A lot of them were not nice. You know, some of them were threatening to quit the game, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of immature responses to the movement and stuff like that. So I'm going to give my thoughts on this now, since I've gotten, a few games in before taking a long nap, so to speak, earlier. And obviously the difference can be changed. However, when it comes to a first-person shooter, right? When it comes to the first-person shooter, if you really are a good player, right? If you're as good as you say you are, right? If you really are a good player, number one, you're going to be able to adjust to any kind of changes that are made. Even if you look at Call of Duty from a game-to-game basis, on a year-to-year basis, adjustments that are made, things that are added or taken away or adjusted or whatnot, is something that happens with every single year of Call of Duty, even back during the days of classic Call of Duty, right? Going from Modern Warfare 3 to Black Ops 2, from Black Ops 2 to Ghosts, Advanced Warfare to Black Ops 3, etc., 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 right? Okay, but one of the things that's important, right? And as a person who's been playing first-person shooters for a long time, I can tell you that if the fundamentals, your basic fundamentals of what a good player in a first-person shooter game has, gets severed, okay, or to a point to where it doesn't matter as much anymore, that is when you have a problem. And that is what I believe that the devs are trying to achieve. And I honestly don't think that they're done with this movement change. I think there's going to be an additional buff, or should I say a blurf, right? Something's going to be slightly nerfed or remain the same, while another aspect is going to get buffed, but not buffed to the way it was previously. I think there's a possibility for the air strafing to get a buff, but it won't be as like it was previously. It'll be kind of like a mid area, right? Like this little gray area, to where it'll be in a good spot. But here's the thing. When it comes to the bunny hopping mechanics, as well as the air strafing put together, which a lot of players are taking advantage of, a lot of players are obviously abusing and stuff like that, the problem with that, okay, and as a person who loves movement, right, I can definitely see why there's a necessity for such a thing. And it doesn't really have anything to do, in my opinion, okay, you can make an argument against that, which is fine, right? And I can see where you're coming from, but it's not necessarily to quote unquote cater to bad players. If you look at it from what I'm about to present now, in terms of my particular viewpoint, is that if you are getting way too many get out of jail free cards when you should be dead because of a mechanic that is too cheesy, then that is when you have a problem. Because if it wasn't for a overly cheesy mechanic, you would have been dead. Okay, so this is why players are abusing it, because even bad players abuse it, right? Yeah, cheaters abuse it as well, obviously. So what that does is it enables them to basically stay alive, otherwise where they shouldn't be. And that's what the devs are adjusting to where it's like, okay, you're obviously making a ton of mistakes, and upon making those mistakes, you're basically getting too many get out of jail free cards because of this overly cheesy mechanic, so to speak, right? So that is, I think, the viewpoint of what the devs are doing and what they're trying to. It's like you still have your get out of jail free card, but you can't get away with like overdoing it like you did previously. So but the problem with that is that if something, it's kind of like a weapon. If it gets nerfed too much, then obviously people are either not gonna, how do I put this? If it gets nerfed too much, it gets to a point to where people are just not going to be enjoying it as much, so to speak, right? And again, this is why I think a lot of players are voicing their opinions. And as a person who got in a few games, I can certainly feel the difference, but it's still in the game, but it's not as cheesy. So some people will say that they probably over nerfed it. Some other people will say that it's fine, or that they hardly notice a difference in terms of the receiving end or something like that. And other players will say blah, 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 whatever, right? So again, in terms of adjustments, I don't think we're done with this yet. So for those of you guys that enjoy movement, and I enjoy the movement, trust me, but for those of you guys that, this has made like the biggest difference for you, so to speak, to where you're going to put the game down or uninstall or whatever it is, it's like, first of all, I don't think it's done yet. And second of all, if you really are a good player, you're going to be able to still take advantage of this and still do a lot of what you've been doing previously, but you're not able to do it to quite the extent as you did previously. Because as you guys know, previously it's like, 4 jumps, for instance, for the bunny hopping plus the air strafing, the way it worked, it was a little too much. But now it's after 3 jumps before the penalty kicks in, plus the air strafing, I think, has been reduced by like 10% or something like that. So, I mean, again, they're taking, even when you look at how they did the sniper thing, right? They're taking a slow burn of approach in terms of everything. And remember, these guys also have data. It's not just about our feedback, but it's also about data. So it's the combination of these two things that they've already mentioned that they're making these decisions off of, right? So it's not just about their data, it's also about our feedback. So, and again, online, I've also seen good players that I know of that have played games like XDefiant or other first-person shooters for a long time that have basically made themselves very vocal, so to speak, online, at least from a typing standpoint, to where the bunny hopping is something that took them away from the game because it's too broken, it's too cheesy, and all that stuff. But again, going back to what I said earlier, if you are a good player and an experienced player, even with a broken mechanic like bunny hopping, despite the fact that you kind of have to do it and spam it to kind of try to counter the other bunny hopper, so to speak. So you kind of have to become the bunny, depending on your play style, obviously. You're still able to adjust. Like, for instance, in XDefiant, I've leveled up one of the LMGs all the way to max level, right? And I'm a person who never uses the LMGs. However, I am able to pick off some bunnies from a good distance, and in some cases even a close distance, but for the most part a good distance, because that's where LMGs really thrive. With my LMG, you know what I mean? But again, like I said, one of the things that I think made it so broken was the fact that the netcode is not where it's supposed to be. I think that's part of it. But I know other players will say, well, that's not a good reason to penalize people that are using it. It's like, well, it's not. I don't think it's about using it. It's about abusing it. So they want to make it less abusive. Like, even when you go back during the days of Black Ops 2, before the sniper nerf, which a lot of people still say even after the sniper nerf in Black Ops 2, it was still very prevalent that snipers were still pretty crazy, but not as crazy as in before the nerf. They wanted to make it to where not just any player out there, no matter how bad they were, like, can do some of the shit that like some of the best snipers could do, right? So they nerfed the snipers to where it would actually require a higher skilled player to continue to do the shit that snipers used to do previously. And I think that's a similar type of mentality that the devs in XDefiant are taking here. So that's just my take on that. So overall, a good player is still going to be able to prosper, but at the same time, it's not as cheesy. And it really does force players to rely a little bit more on their basic fundamentals in terms of their positioning on the map, their decision making. Because again, if you make the wrong decision, but yet you have too many get out of jail free cards to where you're supposed to be dead in a boots on the ground shooter with some advanced movement mechanics or whatnot, then it's like, if that fundamental is severed to cheesy territory, then even Thunder said it once when it comes to something. It's like, when you introduce chaos, you eliminate skill. And I'm quoting him by saying that. He said that in one of his videos a long time ago, and I remember it as clear as day yesterday, as if it was yesterday. Like, when you introduce chaos, you eliminate skill. And the bunny hopping along with the air strafing put together, and how many times you can spam it and how it's abused and stuff like that, was a little too chaotic. So what they're doing is reducing the chaos. They're not removing it, but they're reducing it to where, again, somebody who's got, their fundamentals intact can continue to have an impact, because those fundamentals should have an impact. And if you made a mistake, too many get out of jail free cards is just too chaotic and cheesy. And this is coming from a person who loves movement. Okay, I love the advanced warfare movement. I loved the movement in Black Ops 3. I love the movement in Infinite Warfare. So you guys know how I am. You guys know how I play this game. Go to my live tab and you'll see in the stream that I did a couple days ago, for someone who uses a silenced M16, I'm a very aggressive player for someone who's using a weapon like that, right? And you'll see many different things happen. I pick off of people from being in the right position. I pick off of people whenever, close quarters engagement, long quarters engagement, stuff like that. But at the same time, if I make a mistake, I pay for it. And that's the way it should be for all players. So So yeah, that's my thoughts on that, guys. So anyway, with that being said, like I said, I don't think it's over yet in terms of the adjustments that have been made and that will continue to be made. So we're just going to kind of have to keep our eyes peeled. And again, if you're a good player, it's going to be business as usual. You're still going to be doing what you do. And remember, you know, because there's no EOMM algorithm in this game, or SBMM, so to speak, as it's more widely known as, it is, how do I put this? You know, again, it gives every player, regardless of skill level, the ability to see the results of hard work put into their game. So anyway, that's it. So let me know down in the comment section what you guys think and what your opinions are. And thank you all for taking the time to watch and or listen. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.